Hello Dragoon, here DooMMetaL. I will show you in this tutorial how to get your own custom animations inside the game using several chains and some of my tools. First of all, you need to download some stuff. Also, you need some knowledge about some things. First, Blender. During the animation process, some tricks could be difficult. I recommend first watching the tutorials done by LollypopMan. I will leave the full playlist of his awesome tutorial called The Secrets of Rigify, which helped me a lot to understand how to properly work with TLoD model reading. Second, using TLoD TMD converter. This is basic, since we will be working with it, checking the animation we want to mod and testing the result animation. So I will leave the link to all the tools in the description. Third, several chains. Make sure of having installed, since it's only possible to mod the game in there. In the original hardware, the game surely will be corrupt or crash. Fourth, don't fear to learn. Part of this takes time to digest, so take your time, get some coffee, and get started. Surely you saw that video I posted recently with Dart twerking for the victory. If not, have a look at it. To start explanation, we need to start with the basics. The structure of files in this game is a little complex, and sometimes super messy. In this case, I pick a very simple example. Let's say that you want to mod Rose victory animation. Well, first, each folder contains an animation block. This means that each animation of Addon could have their own unique post victory. Surely that was the first idea of the developers. Anyhow, now you know, one folder equals one Addon. In general, the first files from 0 to 31 is reserved for the Addon animations. The rest are for failed counter-attack animations and victory animations. Normally the file name for this last one is the number 47. And the last file in there is for the idle animation of the post-victory. For knowing the placement of the files, we use the TLoD file mapping file, which contains not only the position, but the use of the files and some information related to it. For example, if the folder contains animations, models, textures, etc. With this knowledge, now we can choose to mod the victory animation where Rose used whip smack. This file is placed in the number 4055. So we must find that folder in the DOM created by several chains. From there, we will take in the file 47, which is the animation, and then we will look for the folder files/characters/rows/models/combat. Inside, we can look for the file 32, which is the model of Rose. Once we got animation and model located, I recommend to create a new folder and work in there. Simply copy both files into your new folder. In this case, mine is called tutorial. Now we will convert the model just to see if it's the correct animation to mod. For this we will be using TLoD TMD converter. Simply go into advanced conversion and then select manual conversion. First pick the model, and after, if no animation is found, the tool will ask if you want to load an animation. If you want to join several animations, or if you want to convert without animation. We chose yes, because means load a single animation. After the conversion, I will help you a little with the basic setup of Blender. Normally, when watching an animation from TLoD, I use my 3D view looking from the bottom of the scene. In Blender, it's the bottom, but in the game will be the front. For setting this view, you must press Ctrl numpad 7. This will do the trick. Also, I had another work area with the graph editor that had a very good utility in that we're gonna do. After finishing this little setup, you will import the TLoD file to confirm if the animation is the correct one. The first view, you will see that all the objects are at the origin point. That's a normal thing because Blender needs to start the animation to put the objects in their order. After doing that, we will need to use the most important utility from the graph editor, the discontinuity Euler filter. This awesome tool will fix any problem in the animation before being played. After applying it, you will see that the model of Rose took her position in the frame 0. Now we play it. And yes, we were right, Rose victory! With this, also you will notice that the model and animation seems to be in a weird position. And that's what I said before. In Blender, the Z is the height and the Y is the depth. Well, in TLoD, it's just the opposite. The Z is the depth and the Y is the height. I recommend to configure the render settings to play animations at 20 frames, which is the current animation frame rate of TLoD. Now you got it. To continue working, we need to work with the base model, so you must convert the base model with no animation. For that, we can use TLoD TMD converter again, but this time we choose cancel, which means no animation load. For this one, I will save it like Rose base model, but you can name it as you want. Once the conversion confirmed, we can continue. For this, we must set up two add-ons I use. One is the soft converter, another is the New-Vertex color material. This last one is only needed if you want to fully texture the model, and I recommend this if you are not familiar with the models from the game, since it will help you to reassemble the model and position the objects. Soft Converter is used to convert the vague animation from Blender into the file type used by TLoD engine. The New-Vertex color material is an add-on to add automatically the color vertex property into the object of the model. I will say, this will be saving a lot of clicks. Both must be set up the same way. Download the add-on from GitHub and then decompress them into a folder that you want. In Blender, you go to Preference, Add-ons and look for the icon button that say Install Add-on. Look for the add-on file and choose Install. Once installed, you need to enable it. If it's not shown when installed, look for it in the search window. Once you got all set up and OK, you will see both of them in the tab of the 3D view area. If you can see that tab, just press in your keyboard M and it will show up. Also, don't forget to set your rendering frame rate to 20. In here, I will show you how to work with the model for retexturing it and also applying the vertex color. Be aware that in the UV view, the color vertices are not selected, so you will see the mesh over the texture. If you saw one single vertex not selected, actually is the color vertex. After all of this, you must reset all the object to its origin position. You will do this in the object options, clear location, rotation, and if you want to be sure, scale. Now we will work on sorting the objects of the model, but first we must bring the human meta rig, which is a basic human skeleton. This will help us to visualize how the model must look. Once you add it into the scene, I recommend to tweak it a little bit. For example, the breastbone are not used in TLoD, since games don't have models with that kind of control or super detail in movement. After the tweak is done, we can continue sorting the objects of rows. In most of the cases, I just need to do an x-axis rotation to -90. So we will be facing front to the Blender view. Once finished, the model looks quite well. Keep in mind, Rose had one of the few models that can be done this way so easily. Now it's time to work on the meta rig. This skeleton it's pretty basic, but we'll do the trick for the thing we want to do since we have a lot of default options and the armature itself is almost positioned to be rigged. To be more clear, this meta rig is part of the Rigify tool, which helps to create the rigs for the model in an easy way. Once you get the meta rig finished, we must do in some last adjust. In this case, rows have hair in their parts, so we must add some bones there. This part I will be time-lapsing, but to know what I'm doing, go right now and watch the LollypopMan tutorial. And seriously, I mean it. After the ring is done, and we are good with the result, we will be animating something simple. Don't try large animation, since the timing in the victory animation is very little, not much than 2 or 3 seconds. First, you see that I changed the placement of the model using the root bone and rotated it 90 degrees in the x-axis. This is done to match the view in the game. be sure of rotating, and after rotate select all the bones and control using A. Then you press I, which will showing the keyframe list, and select Rod Lock Scale. This will grant that the model will be facing to the negative Z direction. Once we get the animation done and we are happy with the result, we need to bake it. In other words, we must fill all the frames of the animation. Don't feel bad if the animation looks a little clunky, since the animation will be processed in-game by the engine. In there, we'll be adding a lot of frames in between and doing some adjust. For making the animation, we will select all the bones and controls, pressing A in the 3D view. Also, we must select all the keyframes from the timeline below in the window, doing the same. Then, go to Pose Options and look for Animations, enter to bake action. We must be sure that the frames to be baked will be from the start of the animation to the end. In this case, from 0 to 60. Also, the frame step will be 1, which means that fill every little one of the frames with a keyframe. In the selection box check, only select bones, visual keying, clear constraint, clear parents, and be sure of selecting pose as baked data. Once this is done, you will see the timeline filled by keyframes. Then you must go to the object mode again and hide everything except the object of the character. Now select all the objects and check that everything is animated as you want. Now, if you select one single object, you will notice that have some transform data, but after frame 1, nothing changed. This is because the model attacks to the rig system, so the rig is moving, and because we parent the object, we will take the initial position of the rig, but not all the full motion. So, for making the object animated, you must select all the objects of the model again, go to Object Options, and look again for animation. Now we will bake the animation into objects. You must select the same as before. In most of the cases, when the baking window appears, we'll have the same option left from the previous bake. Press OK. And there it is. Each object has its own animation keyframe and the exact position in that frame. Now it's time to clear the scene of everything except the objects from the model. For this, I recommend to do a save as of the file. So if anything goes wrong, you can take your last steps into the model without need doing everything from zero again. Once saved, you need to remove all the meta rig and the rig controls for rig. To do this, I recommend to enable the restriction toggles. This is over the collection tab, and check the same as I do in the video. Now in the collection that is under the rig, there is a folder called widgets. You need to enable it and then right-click and select Delete Hierarchy. Do the same for the rig and the meta rig collections. Now you have everything set for doing the magic. Press N to open the panel tab and look for Blender to SAF tab. In there, click the button Convert SAF. After the processing, you will see that the model is unselected and in the last frame. This means that the animation has been converted. Now we are in the last steps. We will run some safety checks. For this you must use the converted.saf file into the Rose game model, the 32 file if you recall it. Using TLoD TMD converter, this will be easy. Load the model and then the animation called converted.saf and save the Collada file. Now it's time to open Blender and check the model with your custom animation. First check that you have the keyframe set. Do the LR filter trick and... yeah, you got it! Rose is in the pose you made for her. Play the animation to see that it's running all well. Don't worry if some part of the model rotating in weird ways. Sometimes this happens because of Blender and not in-game. After doing all of this, we are ready to place our modded animation. For that you must replace the original file using the same number. But be aware, always it's good to set a backup of the file. Last, time to check the result on Saved Change. Be sure of being using the correct addition for the character. I hope you find this tutorial useful. I always say, the most important is to learn. You can check other Blender tutorials to be more consistent. Anyway, take your time and you will do it just fine. Thanks for watching and have a good day.